self-study. And I super believe in going to school. Like there's some two-year programs. I think Stanford has like a certificate program that's pretty good. For the money, University of Georgia has like a program that's like crazy cheap, like $2,000-3,000, and it's pretty well regarded. Yeah, so those are some routes that I might consider. Lastly, I really like the online video section of MIT. They have a couple of really good. I really like their series. There's a series they have on Big O notation that I think is just great. Which, that's not the most exciting thing, but I think it's exciting. Programming efficiency. So yeah, those are the things that I would recommend. Let's see. Is there any more questions here? Could probably get to one more. Let's see. I see a question from back an hour ago. Is asked, am I a functional or imperative programmer? I'll tell you. Okay, this is a great question. I think that the best way I think I'm more of a functional programmer if I'm doing like data. Most of the patterns that you're going to follow in those sort of frameworks, like these are things like Matplotlib, Plotly. I'm talking about Python data visualization, like frameworks. Those I think. And working with pandas, I think it lends itself to a more functional style in the way that those APIs are designed. And yeah, and I'd say it's important to know those things. And I think if you do anything with like Scala, it's always good to know a lower level, really round out your knowledge, because sometimes you're going to have to work with data engineers or build something that puts your work into their world, into the cloud ecosystem. So I do think that, like, yeah, I think functional and an imperative. Now, this is very academic, but yeah, I would assume we're talking about everything else. So sure, yeah, I love object-oriented programming. I hope there. It's like I'm not an academic that way. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. All right. All right, so I don't see any other questions. If you guys have any more, I probably want to keep this under an hour. So we got about 10 minutes. So if you got any more questions, I will pause. I will drink some of my coffee here. I see lots of typing. This is great. By the way, this has been a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting all. I thought maybe 5 people would show up and be like, "Sweet," but we had a good run here. Oh, while you guys are typing, if there's anything, so I should probably plug the fact that I'm doing open source type bootcamp. It's not, I'm not trying to be like a General Assembly type, private school. It's free for anyone, completely free. And I might monetize it down the road at some point, but it's something I've been working on kind of on the side. I have all the content done. I already did my first class. We did it on Discord. I see a couple of people here from the GDAT1 cohort. What's up, guys? But basically, it's free. Basically, you sign up to GitHub. It's got all the repos, and I'll probably do another run of the class as an intro to Python for data science, if you're interested in that. And I also have a secondary track that I've kind of worked out. It's relating to some more of an intro to machine learning, which is like the second part of the class. we got through it in about 5 weeks. It was a once a day kind of class, and it covers the basis of what I think one should know in Python. It's for anyone. If you're already a good programmer and you're a good engineer and got software engineering background, maybe you're in web development or, iOS or, some other type of backend, you would probably learn it very quick. So the first few classes are probably not for you because you probably know enough to get through this on your own. But the content is all free, and I have a sign up on it's on the website and it's linked. It's just doseofdata.com. And if you're interested, sign up for the mailing list, and I'll give out some information about when I'll run that. It'll be next month. So, all right, here we go. We got 2 questions. I should be able to go through this. So we got someone who's asked about they're really new to this field and how to get started. 14 years old and a community architect and a trader, trading from father. And Demat, please guide me. Yeah. Okay, that's great. 14, perfect age to get started doing anything. In fact, I think anyone could learn to program in Python. I think start learning Python. Look at those book recommendations. Those are good things to start in. And if you need to get started like right now, check out like Data Camp. I think they're like an excellent place to start to learn these things. Yeah, and I really think having a solid foundation in Python is the best place to start, and learn a little bit of statistics and linear algebra. I feel like those are really good places to start. I think I still recommend 3 blue, 1 brown. I give you that. I think if you stick to that, and then come to my Discord server, check out my book recommendations. I think that's a good place to start. All right. So I see a question. 2D asks, for a person aiming to get a computer science degree, should I learn data science? Yeah, why not? I mean, I think that if you really, I think there's 2 parts to this, right? I think there's a lot of programs that are like data science masters, and they're, some of them are real expensive, and they're like 2-year programs, and I think those are great. Now, I think that the people that have the computer science background tend to like have an easier time in their careers. Not to say that you don't, that it's necessary, but I do think that is like one area where it's like knowing how to code and understanding the first 2 years that you're in data structures and algorithm type classes. That's the kind of stuff that they quiz you on, and that they gatekeep in coding interviews. Not to say you can't learn those on your own, but yeah, I think you can start with a computer science program and then find like a certificate or a master's that you can do after that that's more data specific. And I think that's a great combination. But that's not to say if you wanted to get into computational linguistics, or they say, I've met people with psychology backgrounds that do great. But yeah, I think specialize in a particular domain. If it's computer science, I think that's great. You have tons of flexibility, and maybe you want to get into like machine learning engineering. So another question. Hope that satisfies you. Let's see. One question. I'm going to be studying computer science for cybersecurity at a university college in September. Any advice for going into it? Like what should or shouldn't I do, and what would be the best mental state going into it? Well, like I said, turn off your social life. It's just, getting involved in this kind of thing. If it's in addition to your schoolwork, then yeah, for sure. You want to be focused. So yeah, I think, look, I've had a few people ask specifically about cybersecurity. I think if you have the option in your program to choose electives, I think you should choose ones that or revolve around like database management, statistics, programming in Python, any type of statistical computation programming, applied statistical programming. Those are things that you should definitely, if you have the choice, definitely get into those areas. I think those are very complementary to getting into data science in particular. Let's see. Any other? Okay. 69. I'd ask. I'm still in my teen years in school. Recently started using Matplotlib and Pandas. Yes, my favorite. I'm curious to know what I should do next. I'm just learning. And yes, I know the basics of SQL. All right, you got a jump start. And I'd say what you should do is actually find some data sets to start working on, some projects. Why not? I think, looking at, well, I got a list of suggested projects, and I have some resources that I would suggest, and I'll copy and paste them to you after this. But to get to the other questions, I'll move on. But I think you should do some projects. Do some projects end to end. Do data acquisition. Come up with a problem statement. Do some exploratory data analysis. Draw some prediction models, and write about some conclusions, and make sure you validate your results. And I feel like that's a lot. There's a lot that is behind those recommendations that you can learn. The next step is learning how to do exploratory data analysis and actually doing like projects with actual data. So that's what I would suggest. Question from Anime PFP. Question, is C# any good for data science? I think it's fine. I think there's libraries in C#. I'm not super familiar with it, but there are a lot of programming languages that have good like APIs for this. And I think you got to ask, what kind of application are you doing? For what? Are you trying to do data visualization? Or machine learning specifically? Do you want to deploy models in production? These are good questions. If that is the case, I would say Python is a great language compared to C#, just based on community support, number of people. Like here's the Turing test that I would challenge you on, is that if you're going to go out and have a problem with, let's say, logistic regression model when you're implementing it in C# versus, let's say, Python versus RStudio, how many results are you going to find for getting help on Stack Overflow or something? I think you'll find that in Python, you just have a lot more people using those sorts of tools, and you're going to find that it's going to be a little more friendly doing those things. But I don't think you're going to have a problem learning in C# if that's really where you want to stay. And I as much as I advocate for Python, you got to also do what you know. I think you should play to your strengths. If that's where your comfort zone is, and that's what you've mastered, keep going in that direction. I don't think there's any reason why you should switch unless you find that there's some application that you can't do. And so that's what I would say. All right, so what is better, Python or Java? Same question. All right, so this particular question is kind of like, here's a kind of a allegory of sorts. It's sort of like, what is the best hammer for building a house? It doesn't matter, honestly. It's like, yes, you can, with Python, you might have an easier time learning. There's lots of resources and more people using that kind of hammer, if you think of it like a tool. But what you're really trying to learn is how to build houses, understanding the fundamentals, what's the foundation that you're trying to understand, and also what are you building on top of it. So if it's not something that you're like familiar with, it does, you will learn based on the tools you use. You learn that I use this hammer for this thing, I use a nail gun for that, but maybe I don't use the sledgehammer for installing the insulation. It's sort of like, those are the things you learn. Python versus Java, that's I know I didn't really answer, but I think Python is going. I think you should learn Python. Like, if you're coming from like nothing, here's my recommendation: learn Python, master that, then learn a lower level language. I think Java is great. I'm partial to Scala. If I'm going to use a low level language, that's what I like. But Java's fine too. Java is excellent. I think it has tons of commercial, or let's just say industrial applications and tools in data science and machine learning that are available to it. But yeah, if you want to follow the more engineering route, I think Java has I would say there's a tool that's more specific to that, but not necessarily, because you do have Spark, but that's still kind of like more on the engineering side and big data engineering. But Python, if you really want to be more on the research or data, scientist type, doing investigative work and doing more plotting and hands-on work with data, that's what I think Python is kind of its strength. So I think that's it. All right. So I will say thank you so much for inviting me to come and talk to your community, and I hope this was informative and everyone got a lot out of it. If you have further questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out anywhere you see me. If you see me on Discord, say hello and say, hey, I have a question. Totally fine. If you've got any advice for me on how to run a Discord server, please. I'm definitely open. Super need help with that. But I had such a great time. Thank you so much for inviting me. And you guys, you were such great audience. I appreciate it. And so on that, I will bid you adieu. So adios.
Thank you.